What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Hope you're all doing well today. So today, a little bit of a surprise probably from your guys' end, because usually when I play sim I tend to stick to what I enjoy and what I'm semi-decent at, which is the Supercross side of things and the Enduro side of things, and Enduro Cross as well in there, but I consider Enduro Cross and Enduro basically the same thing, to be honest. But we're doing a little bit of Nationals today. Usually I wouldn't do it because I am very aware of how much I suck arse at trying to follow ruts and go over braking bumps without wadding myself on Nationals. However, the track that you're currently looking at is the 2022 Redbud, which was meant to be used for the MX Simulator of Nations. I have absolutely no idea why the Sim Nations didn't go ahead this year. I don't really follow much in terms of sim news. I just hop on the forums every now and then to see what tracks have been released. Oh, don't mean to pause it by mistake. I was trying to pull a tear off for no reason. My button layouts are separate between MX Sim and MX Bikes. I don't know why it didn't go ahead. I'm sure if anybody does know, please let me know down in the comments, because I'd be interested to read that. I myself, I know on the MX Bike side of things, the Nations event is the one that I look forward to the most throughout the entire year. So I'm sure if you are a sim player and sim is your main game, I'm sure you're probably a little bit disappointed that it didn't come to fruition. But I thought, let's not let the track go to waste. Let me hop on and play it a little bit and give it a go. It was released on the forums by Tieran Tomic. I don't know if that's a solo project or if he's worked with other people. It didn't mention. However, it does say that it was completely built from scratch, from the ground up. So I guess guarantee that a lot of time and effort went into this, which again is another reason why it's a little bit sad that the whole event didn't go ahead. Honestly, I probably would have sat down and watched a live stream if that would have happened. I don't often get to sit down and watch like Kellen's streams on the sim events. They're usually at quite ungodly hours for me, but I probably would have made an exception for this one. Right, shall we do the test actually and see if 450s are stupidly OP, or if sim traction is stupidly OP? Can we hit the leap from the inside? Send it. Oh god, I'm a bit front wheel high. I'm going to crash here, aren't I? Yep, thought so. God damn it, JLV. I'll tell you what, a player much better than I, which isn't really that difficult to do, I think you could quite easily get up and over that from the inside, which is absolutely ridiculous. I wish that sim would kind of go back more in the direction of smaller scale and less traction, but the tracks just seem to be getting bigger and bigger, and you see like some of these jumps I'm having to slow down so much and like really try and scrub off speed, and I'm not even a fast person. Like, I'm just wobbling my way around the track. I imagine if you get some of the really fast guys that can actually rowl a corner, when they come up some of these jumps, they must have to bang it down into first gear and slow down so much. Oh my god. What is wrong with me? Why can't I hit bloody braking bumps, for crying out loud? So painful. Which is weird, because I always used to be absolutely fine in whoops and things. I have no idea why I can't do them anymore. I do think it's just a lack of experience. I think I need to sit down over the course of like a week and just grind out really rough tracks, or just keep playing whoop sections over and over and over again. Don't crash again, please. Oh, thank God. The only frustrating thing I ever have when I play this game, which is why I do lean more towards bikes, which is, in a sad way, is how long it takes to respawn after a crash. I know it serves a good competitive purpose, but I'd love for there to be a way of turning it off in single player or time trial, whatever it may be. Because I crash a lot. I'm well aware that my skills on this game are sadly lacking, but I crash a hell of a lot, so I can't really help it. Like, you can see, it's already kicked out sideways after the first bloody bump. What's a guy to do? I don't know if, like, what I used to do back in the day, which used to work, which I'm not sure why it feels like it doesn't now. I'm still convinced that it's more of a skill issue than a suspension thing. Is I actually used to put it down in like a really low gear and just keep accelerating the whole time over the bumps, even if it was first gear, like just screaming the engine out. I felt like the whole time I was accelerating, the bike would want to track more straight. It seems like nowadays what I see people do, if I ever do watch some sim videos, is they bang it up into a really high gear and kind of coast their way through. That never seems to work for me. I always seem to get kicked a little bit sideways. Oh, it's nice that you can jump your way down that hill over the braking bumps. And then I need to slow down a hell of a lot for this one. Oh, a little bit too much that time. Please don't crash again. Nothing's happening. This is fine. It's perfect. I meant to crash. Speaking of JLV, by the way, as you guys know, I'm a little bit of a Modern Warfare 2 tryhard at the moment. I'm grinding away, I'm trying to go for a Ryan camo. It's come to a little bit of a halt the last 2 days because I've been playing more Warzone than anything, but I think I'm about 20 guns deep on gold camo, which I don't think is too bad since I spent 2 weeks away from home where I couldn't play it whatsoever. But I played a game the other day, and somebody in the lobby was actually just called JLV. I doubt it was the man himself. I doubt he sits around in his spare time grinding out COD, because he was a very high level as well. He was in the hundreds, I believe. But I thought that was quite funny. Just he never leaves me. Left him about not 4. That's way too far. Left him about 3 years ago to go play bikes, and he's just returning. Maybe it's a sign. It's a sign. The stars have aligned. They're like, Lynn's come back. Play some more sim. We miss you. But I'll be honest. I don't enjoy sim enough to the extent of trying to get good at it again. I don't mind hopping on it every now and then for a half hour or so, but after that, and after I've crashed so many times, I've lost interest at that point. I think I've reached that point now where I like things to be easy for me, and sim is such a difficult game to compete at a good level. But it's not a bit of me. I'll spend far too many hours grinding away trying to get good, and know that I will probably never ever get back near the top, because the guys that play this game nowadays, they're absolute animals. I mean, you've people that play it now, they was playing it back when I was good as well and still competing back then. I mean, Leclerc's still going strong. God knows how many hours that man's put into the game at this point. I do wish that this game was on Steam, just so you could properly track your hours, but I imagine that the sales would be quite good as well, but I feel like it'd be one of them games where it would get done dirty by Steam, just with the whole review system. I think people would leave negative reviews of it after like 2 hours just because they can't go in a straight line. And it's like, well, yeah, it is meant to be a difficult game. It is a simulator after all. But I digress. I think it would really help his sales. I wonder how. I know I mean, I remember back when I first bought the game and my UID is in the 17,000s, and I was the new guy on the block. Like, I had a higher UID than most people, and now that's basically ancient nowadays. I mean, aren't we up in like we're probably up in the 60,000s, 70,000s or so. I mean, he's made a decent bit, made a little bit of money on his game here, but for a game that's been out for 15 years, you can imagine that it's probably sold a fair few copies. And one thing that I'm not sure if it's ever been covered in videos by other people, or if JLV's ever said anything. Again, I don't spend much time researching about this game or looking behind the scenes information and what goes on. It would be really, really nice if there was any way of this game could just, as it is, like all the physics, like absolutely everything, you can take the game exactly how it is in terms of feel, and just move it over to a better engine where the game could look nicer. Because that is one of the comments I see the most when I do the videos on this game, especially after playing MX Bikes, when I've got a reshade on and everything and making it try and look really pretty. Is a lot of people say this game does literally look like a PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2 game, which on some tracks I can fully agree with. And I think it comes from the point of view of where people kind of have to make everything really from scratch themselves, especially on the track side of things. When it comes to putting ground textures and decals on, a lot of people, like me for example, when I made my tracks years and years and years ago, I have no idea what I'm doing. You know, it's very, very difficult to get things to look good in this game, because you've got to use all special norms and spec maps and all stuff that, if you're used to them, very, very easy. If you're not a very computer savvy person like myself, it's probably can get really, really confusing. And I know when it came to my track making, I never bothered with that sort of things. I think I took a couple of decals from other tracks, I can't even remember which ones they were now, and just slapped them on here, there and everywhere, and that was it. I mean, in terms of off-track models and ground stuff, it wasn't amazing. I know that on Sim you have like just one specific lighting source and that's it. You can't like, if let's say you want to do a nighttime track, you can't plop like fog lights around and have it illuminate in different areas. You can get the same effect by messing with the track decals, which some people have done, very, very talented people, but you can't actually get the light hitting you from different angles and shadows and reflections. And that's something that I think this game desperately needs more than anything, is just update it to a new engine. I don't know what goes into doing that. I wish MX Bikes would do exactly the same thing, because OpenGL is a terrible engine for optimization side of things. I mean, you guys will know that even if you've got super PCs, you get some tracks on these games that look like they shouldn't really do a whole lot of damage to your PC, but you drop frames, it's not very enjoyable. And I know Sim, when a road first came out on Sim, my god, the frames I was getting used to be absolutely horrendous, but it doesn't seem too bad nowadays, although I did literally buy a supercomputer over Christmas period, so it should be able to handle anything, especially with just me, myself and I here in single player. But I don't know where I was going with that whole topic and rant and conversation. It would just be nice to have or have these games look as good as they feel. As I think really the only area where the AAA titles nowadays succeed compared to these two is in the visuals aspect. I think that is purely the only thing that they've got going for them. In terms of handling and physics-wise, they're not a bit of me. Some people might enjoy them, but I myself could never see myself spending more than an hour or two max on them at a time. And then I feel like all of the more recent big title games, once I get to about the 10-hour or so mark, I just put it down. Whereas in sim and bikes, I could quite easily just spend 10 hours a week. Like, happily, just play, try and get better, see how it goes. But there's not that same challenge or excitement for me on the more arcadey games. And I said in a video the other day when playing Monster Energy Supercross 2, I really do feel sorry for the console guys that can't afford a PC, or maybe they're a little bit younger and their parents can't get them a PC, that they are stuck with games like Monster Energy Supercross. It baffles me that people have that as their only source of motocross gaming. I could never go back. I could never go back to being a console player, like a console only player. We go 5th gear. I mean, 5th gear wasn't too bad, but I was going very, very slowly down that hill. Oh, don't go out the rut. I'm slowly getting there. I think I'm picking up pace a little bit as this video's going on. I'm on top of the rut. God damn it. One of the most frustrating things on this game, other than the 7 to 10 seconds when you crash and you have to wait before you can play the game again, is being stuck on top of a rut, just like balancing on top of it. Because it's like if you turn more, your wheels are just going to fold over on yourself and you're going to crash. If you don't turn, you're still kind of tiptoeing around. If you turn the opposite way, then you're going over the rut. And oh, god damn it! What's wrong with me? I swear I've overjumped that one jump like every single bloody lap. I suppose as far as national tracks go for me, this one's not been too painful. It's fairly straightforward. It's very fast, like very, very fast. I'd love to see a video of the fast guys around here. And where the ruts are very deep. Like for pre-built ruts, I usually expect nowadays the ruts to start off a lot smaller because of the road that gets used in games. I imagine that it would become very, I don't want to say one line, because there are lots of lines all over the place, but once the fast guys do find that one rut that works best, they're all going to filter into it. And when the road kicks in as well, the ruts are only going to get bigger, so the track's going to get even faster. And I imagine you'll just probably be jumping your way through the bumps rather than trying to skim your way through them, and then hitting these massive ruts like 4th, 5th gear wicked with no issues at all. And that's probably one of my major gripes with this game and the online racing, is that obviously the start of the race, the end of the race, they're two completely different things. However, I much more prefer a track that is a bit smaller scale, you know, not as big and wide open, and then just one that's really, really slowed down. The track that I done not so long ago, which was the super detailed Supercross track made by Jay, it's one of my favourite tracks for the sole reason that he's really increased the friction on the ground, so the bikes go a lot slower, and he's made the scaling more one-to-one. But I know that that's not a very popular opinion, but that's just my one. I'm afraid I will not change for anybody. I will not cater to the trend of making tracks super fast, super wide open with loads and loads of traction, because it's not necessary. And for a game that does try and be a simulator, you don't get that. You don't really get that IRL. It's very, very rare that you get tracks where you can just ride the entire thing around, especially on a 450. Ride around the entire track, just absolutely pinned everywhere. It's weird to me. And I think like a lot of the guys in Sim know who Tanner is. You'd probably find it quite weird me mentioning his name in the video, but Tanner Rogers, who's one of the first guys I started playing this game with back in 2015, he knows everything there is to do with like the setup side of things and what you need to change to make the bike do exactly what you want to do. He was saying before how it's like you're in a vacuum when you play this game. Like when I'm in the air, look how long I was floating in the air for just then over that small of a jump. It doesn't make sense. I feel like the gravity's all sort of wrong. I feel like I'm riding on the moon sometimes. So I do have a few gripes with this game, which is why nowadays I tend to spend more time on bikes. I mean, it's more of a casual game. Like, you've not got to spend as many hours on bikes to get to a good level as you do on Sim. That's a given. I mean, people always ask me what game's harder or which one should they get, and it just depends what experience you're after. If you want something a little bit easier, get bikes. If you want something more challenging, get Sim. But I both think they've got pros and cons in their own regards. And I think in terms of realism, bikes definitely gets a lot of things wrong, but it also gets things right that Sim doesn't. And I think there needs to be some sort of wind resistance added on sim. And I'm not saying start blowing your bike around in the air everywhere, but whether it's gravity or whatever it may be, the game feels so like floaty sometimes. And it might just be more of a third person thing. Maybe it feels slightly different in first person. I can't comment on that. I can't play this game in first. I've tried multiple times. I literally tried last night on that on Braden Carter's Supercross track that I've done a video on not so long ago, and it's horrible. I hate it. I come into corners and through rhythms absolutely fine. Then as I'm trying to exit a corner, I don't know where my exit is. I can't spot the exit because I don't want to whack the field of view like really stupidly high, because I run on 110, which I think is perfectly high. You just can't really see around the corner. Maybe a dynamic camera added to this game would be nice, rather than just the static one that we've got, where you can feel when your head shakes on every single bump. Maybe having more of a static head and having the bike move around underneath you would be much nicer. Because even adjusting the gimbal settings on this game, I'm not a massive fan of it. It makes me feel like I don't know what the bike's doing, because it kind of mellows everything out. But I think that's enough of my ranting about this game. As much as I do give it grief, it still was really the start of my motocross PC gaming life. I spent so many hours. I would probably estimate I probably spent like 3,000 plus hours on this game over the course of the 5 or so years I played it, and it's always going to have a special place in my heart. It just sucks that I can't do what I used to do on it anymore. That again is another failed oppo. I'm so sorry for how bad I'm riding. I hope you don't mind it. I hope you just enjoy me waffling away, just talking out my arse for 10-15 minutes. How long have I been going now? I'll be going for 16 minutes. I'm so sorry. I think I'm going to end the video there. But the track itself is fine. It's an enjoyable track. It's just a shame that a lot of time and effort seemed to go into it, and it didn't get used for what it should have been used for. But yeah, let me know down below if you know why the Sim Nations didn't go ahead, because as I said, I don't keep up to date. One last Loretta's jump. Loretta's? It's not Loretta's. One last the Rocco's jump. Oh my god, I'm getting all my words mixed up. And we're dead. Goodbye.
Wanted to make it, I guess. You know I live with the criticisms. People are giving opinion, they put it upon a pedestal. A pendant for your thoughts, but I never asked for change. My work ethic's ridiculous, and yours is not the same. I swear to God that I wrote it all with a pure intention. The truest testament with no excessive false aesthetics. You couldn't imagine or fathom the effort I'm exuding. My heart and soul in this shit, but yet they force me to prove it.